Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Oh Heck Nah, a Naked and Afraid podcast, and we're focusing on Last One Standing, and this has just been crazy bananas. We're going to get right into it. I'm MaLu Beyonce.
And I'm Gabe.
And we are ready to talk about this. So I'm going to give you a little background. There's certain kinds of fans out there for Naked and Afraid. There's your regular watcher. They watch the show, they like it, and then there's a fan. A fan might follow the Instagram of Naked and Afraid. They might follow it on Facebook, but they're just a fan. And then we have our super fans. And our super fans usually belong in a group. They're chatting. They follow all of their favorite survivalists. They know personal things about them. And that's what Gabe is. Gabe is a super fan, right?
I like to think so, yes.
And I was a fan, then I turned super fan, and then I became a survivalist. So if you're watching this, you're most likely a super fan. However, Gabe, I do think that there might be some regular fans that might come into this podcast because it is so controversial. What do you think?
I think so. I think this whole situation may have broadened the scope to Naked and Afraid. Although I haven't really seen anything on like national news or anything, I think that what happened on this episode would cause a lot of reality TV show watchers to be like, ding, what's going on over here? What happened here? Chaos, drama, controversy. It's all there on the episode we are about to talk about.
Yes. Normally what we do on this podcast is we kind of review everything, but we're going to go right into the controversy. So as we all know, we had 3 ladies tap. Yes. And it was Laura, who is a veteran. We have Trish, who is a veteran. And then we have Kayla, who is on her way to being a legend veteran, correct?
I would like to think so, yes.
Okay. So before the episode hit, a post was made in one of the fan groups, and it rocked the fan group nation, correct?
I would like to think so, yes, but I was since I'm one of the admins of True Fans, I saw the post up in the queue because if you want to post, an admin or moderator has to approve it, and I saw that in the queue, and I was just like, no. And I looked at a few of the other pages, and I'm like, oh, it's not there yet, and my first thought is, oh, this will cause a lot of chaos, but then my second thought was, this will cause a lot of chaos, and so I'm just like, you know, these are a lot of rumors. They'll cause a lot of controversy. Let's maybe not post it on here. And it went to other locations where it was shared, and then everybody just latched onto it, and chaos ensued.
Number 1, it was a spoiler about the 3 women tapping. Now, we knew the 3 women were going to tap, or Gabe knew, but he knew because he was watching little things, and we spend way too much time examining all the trailers and everything like that. So that's how we knew. And we actually knew before she posted this. Now, let's talk about the female that posted this. She saw it on Reddit, screenshotted it, and then put it on fan groups. Is that correct, Gabe?
That is correct.
So these are not her words. She's sharing someone else's words.
Exactly. I don't know exactly what happened, but it sounded like the person was very upset and decided to maybe rant something, and their girlfriend sent it to someone else, and that person decided to share it. So it's kind of
I think we're getting confused. No, don't say sorry. I just think that the people, we need to make it a little bit more clear. Where is this post at? I'm going to pull it up right now while we're talking. What group is this on?
Gosh, I know it might be on the individual's personal page, but I don't know. I know it's definitely not on True Fans.
Not. Okay. I'm going to go to her page and we're going to look it up. Because I think that we need to start over, in a sense, but with us not telling everything, for those unsuper fans, they might be confused.
Right.
So let's kind of just do this again. So this person made a post. She shared a post from Reddit. And it says, OMG, I have the tea from a friend who knows somebody who worked filming for Last One Standing Australia. So it's not even her friend, it's another friend. And we all know that telephone game. When you do that telephone game, things get misconstrued. And so she goes on the post and she says that the 3 women tapped, but for not the reason, and they give a reason, and it's not the reason that's shown on the show. I'm just going to read it.
Okay, yeah.
But let's just read it.
Yeah.
Apparently, the three girls, Trish, Kayla, and Laura, all tap out on this next episode. They all decided to tap out because of some BS, moral dilemma, because they were given food and flip-flops before challenges and being asked to say things that didn't happen. Okay, number one, we don't know about the food, and we don't know about the flip-flops. I call this part of the post unreliable. Okay, let's just call this unreliable. What do you think, Gabe?
Well, there was a behind-the-scenes photo where they were wearing flip-flops.
Okay, so they're wearing flip-flops. But just because you're wearing flip-flops does not mean that you're going to tap out over that. So let's just...
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And we don't know when... Oops, hang on, I'm sorry. I'm getting so excited. And we don't know when they were given flip-flops, what part that was. So let's just keep going. Which makes sense to me that apparently they were too high and mighty and didn't appreciate the help. First off, whoever this person is making the Reddit post, you don't know anything about this. So your opinion of them being too high and mighty and didn't appreciate the help, I'm going to X that out. What about you, Gabe?
Yeah, this sounds like a third-hand story, and they might not even know anything about the show. So I think they're just adding an exaggeration to it without knowing these people. And sometimes when you hear negative things about someone you don't know, you're like, oh, yeah, that person stinks. And, you know, they're messing it up for everyone. So it's very unreliable information here.
Very unreliable. And then it says, I guess they were also complaining about how challenges were run, although I haven't gotten specific details on that. You know what? We all complain about the way that challenges are run. Big freaking whoop. I complain about it. Gabe complains about it. I'm sure they complain about it. I complain about the way they did things on Naked and Afraid when it wasn't a competition. So you're making something out of nothing.
Yeah, and you don't even have specific details, so this could all be misconstrued, and that could have been like a general feeling, maybe not these three specifically kind of thing. It's just so up in the air, nothing specific, so then people speculate, and then people just go in wild directions.
Right. So then there's another part that says they were even given toothbrushes, LOL. I don't know. I don't care. I wear my contacts out there. If something got into my eye, I was able to put eye drops in my eye if I needed to, but the medics had it. So, I mean, medically wise, do they need toothbrushes? Apparently, we know Steven's lost teeth before. I don't know about the toothbrush thing. Who cares? I don't know. But at the same time, I brush my teeth every day with a stick. So she could be wrong on that too. They could have had sticks out there brushing their teeth and it got telephone gamed into something different. What do you think, Gabe?
Yeah, I think that could have been a random thing that was thrown out there, because usually the survivalists, or you all just can put coal on a stick and brush it. So if they were like, hey, we don't want you to lose your teeth while you're out here on this challenge, that might be different. But to kind of lump it in with these three didn't like that they were being given toothbrushes during this competition, it's an unfair advantage. It just doesn't really make any sense.
Okay, so now here becomes a part that is so wrong. And this is where I get a really big problem with. All right, so remember, somebody screenshot. So we're going to call her Superfan M, okay? Superfan M screenshotted this. And then we have the Reddit poster. The Reddit poster put in there. There are also reports of... First off, as a participant on Naked and Afraid, how dare you put this out there? You don't know anything about that. And for you to say that is very wrong. Now, as me being on there, let me tell you, they take so many precautions. I don't know if this is true or not true. I don't know anything about this. But for you to put that out there and have people leaving it open when you don't have any facts, I think is wrong. Because people have said it's this cast member, or it was this person, it was that person. If you don't know anything, then don't put it out there. And Naked and Afraid takes so many precautions, not only to prevent any kind of misconduct, but they take every precaution to make every man and every woman feel comfortable out there. So I am so upset about this.
Yeah, because with that kind of being in there, people are like, I can reason away some of these things, just start to speculate. And when they speculate, they point fingers. When they point fingers, someone innocent may be caught in the crossfire, and then people may try to go after them and try to cancel them for something that they didn't do. Or they're like, hey, I saw on Reddit where it's like, oh, when this person around, this person had weird body language around them, so maybe they were the one that did that. Like, I saw that on Reddit today. I'm not going to explain anything because I don't want people to like find the person who's being accused, but it's just stuff like this needs to be taken seriously when it happens. But this is all speculation and there's nothing concrete, so I've seen posts where a lot of the survivalists are having fingers pointed at them, and that could be very damaging to their reputations. And they're just sitting here like, what are you talking about?
Now, with you saying that, Gabe, I'm going to bring it back to Superfan M. How dare you post something like this when there is unfounded, horrible allegations being made? Why didn't you say, hey, I saw a post saying that the 3 girls were going to tap. I don't know if it's true or not, and leave that kind of stuff out. I mean, I'm just so upset. Some of it's cut off, but she says something like together, including Chini, but the producers were able to convince her to stay by making it worth her while. First off, you don't know. Again, speculation. And number 2, they're going to try to convince you to stay because when you try to tap, the producers don't want you tapping. Of course not. Number 1, because most people regret it. Number 2, because they want a good show. Hello, people, this is a television show. So them trying to convince somebody to stay is not a big deal. They did not try to convince me to stay per se because my father was on life support. But they would have said, hey, maybe you can call your mom. And if your mom tells you everything's okay, maybe. If my dad was just sick. But since he was on life support, I think it was a little bit different. So she says all that was done while the other 3 women were over there telling the men they were not leaving. But they were not allowed to give the real reasons they were leaving. I'm sure that out of everybody that's tapped, 60% of the people haven't told the real reason that they've tapped.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, can't wait for the NDAs to be up so we can hear like the real reason in which stuff is going to happen with all this. And I wonder if the person who originally told the story may have had something against Chini to try to get people to go against Chini because like, oh, she decided to stay despite everything that happened. But in the groups, at least, that seems to be kind of the opposite that's happening. Yeah, a lot of people are poking holes in the theories that Laura, Trish, and Kayla made, so they're just like, what's the real reason? This isn't the real reason, but others are just like, what do you mean men are better? Some are like, yeah, men are better. Others are like, what are you talking about? It's all...
Agree. They didn't give the real reasons, but what my point is, it doesn't matter what reasons it is. It's still a TV show. Do you know what I mean? So, Of course, maybe they altered their reasons for whatever reason they wanted to alter them. It's their prerogative to do that. So I don't see anything wrong with that. And then the post goes on to say, so all of this makes sense to me since they were all doing so well and fought so hard to be there. It got so bad that even Max tapped a day after the girls quit. Now, so obviously this person does know something from somebody. But again, like I said, it's 3rd person, 4th person. This will not hold up. It's hearsay. But it's true. I mean, I think Max taps, don't you?
I think so. In the commercial for next week, it just shows Chini, Matt, Darren, and Patrick before they go out to do a challenge. And the only time we see Max is when he's standing in front of the scroll thing. So I think he does tap. But technically it's edited to look like 2 days after at least. So it's like, oh, they got that wrong. I understand what everything is saying.
Yeah, so makes so much sense as to why even Jermaine up and left the competition. And we said that. Me and you said, hey, we don't know what's really going on here. Something else is going on. But there's nothing sinister about that. It's a TV show. And this person, the way that they're typing this, you can tell they're typing it with not love in their heart. They're typing it trying to hurt the show. And that's why I have so much problems with this Reddit post.
Exactly. I've been thinking a lot about what you said where it's about mindset, where some people, or it might have to do with the mindset where, at least we hear Laura talking about how, oh, I'm so used to like working together with other people and like I'm helping my competitor in this, but it's just a lot of people, I guess, didn't have that mindset and I guess other things happen behind the scenes, so it kind of messed around and that's why Patrick has been doing so well in this game because he has the mindset of this is a competition. He made a post about it, like his thoughts and feelings about it that I can read in a little bit. But it's just like, you got to have that mindset of this is about me. I'll take any advantage I get as long as I'm not breaking the rules and as long as things aren't rigged. So unfortunately, that may have something to do with it, but that's just purely speculation. And so this individual probably heard it third hand, and I think a lot of it may have to do with the fact that the original person who said it lost out on some work, and so of course you're going to be mad, like, hey, I had two more weeks.
Hang on, the original poster didn't lose work. They weren't on this show. That post says a friend of a friend. Hang on, let me go back, because I want this to be very clear. A friend who knows somebody. So it's not her friend. It's a friend that knows someone. So this poster didn't lose money. I just want to make that very clear. This poster has no reason to be mad at the show. They didn't lose anything. A friend of a friend lost something. Big difference, don't you think, Gabe? Or...
Yeah, I was just saying maybe some of the anger is just like you hear like from a friend of a friend, like some of this craziness is happening behind the scenes. So maybe maybe not knowing all the information were just really angry when they posted it, and a lot of things were embellished because of it, kind of thing.
Exactly. You can't trust everything that this person's saying. So then it says production crew wanted them to perform no matter what, and it didn't sit well with any of them. I guess the whole thing was a S show. My friend's man lost out on weeks of work since they had to shorten the challenge because they decided to take a crazy stand on this and make a statement. I guarantee that the next one standing will be, I can't say the word drastically different. So, hang on. When I went out the first time on my show, my number one thing was, I have to make this work because people are relying on me. The crew is relying on me. And when I said that to the crew, they were like, a lot of people don't think about it that way. If you do tap, and it can affect the crew. So I understand that. But again, this person posting is not the person, losing money. And them losing a couple of weeks on work, how are you going to say that there was SA and illegal events and then also complain about your friend losing a couple of weeks of money? Right? So which one is it? You care more about the comments that you're making, or do you care about your friend losing money? It makes no sense, Gabe. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it just it doesn't. This doesn't equal this. There's a line through the equal mark. It's weird. This person doesn't really know what they're talking about, it seems.
Exactly, and they just want to hurt the show. So now let's go back to the person who reshared this. Superfan M. Superfan M. I have seen you call people the B word. I have seen you get into arguments with people. I have seen a lot of nasty things, and you feel like vindicated that some of this stuff happened. Just because some of it happened doesn't mean everything in this thing is true. And no matter what, if you are a super fan of the show, you never want to hurt the show or its cast. Right, Gabe? What's your saying about how to treat the cast?
Right. Yeah, and there's been some rumors from why they were kicked off of another page, because apparently they were trying to be buddy with survivalists, but then would turn it, and this person was messaged by a survivalist, and they were saying like, you can hurt a lot of people, or a lot of people will lose their jobs because of this, and she's just like, oh look, I'm getting messaged by them, look at me. And I guess this person seemed to be kind of clout chasing a little bit and wasn't sharing it for the right reason, but seemed to love the attention. And then people were mad at them in the beginning because of this, but then they're like, you'll all see the truth. And then the 3 individuals tapped, and she's like, see, you're burning the messenger at the stake. I haven't done these things I've been accused of.
She's playing a victim, and you are not a victim, girl.
Exactly. And she got into it with one of the other admins of True Fans, and so as of right now, she is not a member of True Fans at this moment, and probably will not be invited back anytime soon because of her behavior.
I don't think she should be invited back because a super fan, and that's what these groups are for, would never really want to hurt the show. There are rumors going on saying, oh, there's a problem with Last One Standing. We might not have another episode. I even think Gabe might have those kind of fears because he loves the show so much. True or not true, you're a little worried.
I am a little worried because trying to put like my production cap on, I would have to see the viewing numbers because, this scandal is going to destroy everything. But then you look at the numbers and there's a giant jump in viewership or the viewership doesn't change. And Discovery and the people in charge, they're going to be looking at the numbers because
that's all they care about.
Exactly. If they see a lot more people are watching the show, then, ad revenues, people are watching those ads, they'll get brand deals because more people are watching. So it's they're looking at they're economists and ecologists. The people in charge are economists. They look at the numbers. They're not really ecologists. They're not going to see like 100 people being like, I'm irate and like, oh, let's cancel the show.
Exactly. You super fans out there, I love y'all. I'm a super fan. But let me tell you, Last One Standing is number 1 on Discovery right now. This last episode, I don't know what the viewership was, but I know it's high. I don't think anyone needs to worry about anything. I'm sure this is not the first time this has been said behind the doors. And people have sour grapes. Some people might complain because they didn't do good or whatever the case may be. What I'm saying is this is probably not the first time allegations have been made. It probably won't be the last time allegations are made. There's no gross negligence there. And I'm going to speak out for that. I've been on the show 2 times. Everybody on that show is so respectful. And I'm not saying that something didn't happen. I just don't want people to have the idea that, oh, they're out there naked and people are, gawking at them and all this inappropriate stuff is going on. No. Could something happen out there? Of course. But they take great strides and measures to make sure that everyone is comfortable.
Yeah, and if something does happen, that needs to be looked into and taken seriously and not brushed under the rug. But I'm not saying something did happen, but I'm not saying something did happen, but if it did, then that needs to be attended to. And we all can't point fingers. And
I believe that they 100% would attend to it. So, back to superfan supposedly M. I just think that you handled this the wrong way. I think you wanted to seem important by posting someone else's inside scoop. It wasn't even your inside scoop. You just reposted it. You were wrong for posting it without some kind of words or something saying, hey, maybe scratch out some of the things or say, this is what I heard on Reddit. But the way that you're saying it, like this is 100% truth, is wrong.
Maybe the superfan M wants to be on the show and thought this might be the way to do it.
I don't know. But so let's move on a little bit. I cannot believe that Trish, Laura, and Kayla tapped. Something must have been, and I've been saying it before any of this post, but something must have really been not right for them to tap. And I'm going to give my opinion, then I'm going to let Gabe give his. I don't know the reason, but I am going to say this. This is not a normal Naked and Afraid. I think there's going to be a lot more touch-ups to the show, a lot more directing to the show, a lot more procedure to the show. And I think that they are true survivalists, and this does not sit well with them. This is not what they do. And I believe that's probably the foundation of the reason why they did not feel comfortable and felt like they had to tap. The reasons that they gave, I think, were fodder. I don't think they were 100%. I think there might have been a little bit of this, but it was a big thing of this. And what do you think, Gabe?
I am in agreement of that because a lot of people are kind of poking holes in the reasoning, but other people are like, oh, men are stronger. I remember there was someone who was saying like, oh, they should have a last women standing, and someone's like, oh, who's gonna like give them food and make them a bed or something? And I'm just like,
who said that?
Or,
oh my gosh.
I don't want to name names, but I don't know if it was like make a bed for them, but it was basically like who's going to feed them. And I would like to point out that I have done the research on this. More men have tapped from XL challenges than women. So the women are mentally way stronger because I think only 16 women and like 31 men have tapped from XL. I mean, on XL10, 4 men tapped and 0 women tapped. So I can kind of see where they were coming from a little bit with some of the, like, the speed and strength challenges, and sometimes men come in a little bit, like, with a little bit of extra meat on their bones than the women do, and I think maybe the women are like, hey, we're not able to, like, keep up with this because we don't have enough food, but it may just be something completely different, but I'm trying to remember everything that I was going to say. Oh, and I also wanted to say how one of the medics was telling Kayla, hey, you need to have carbohydrates. And people were like, what? We're essentially saying, like, you can't get carbohydrates in the wild. And I literally just went to Google and I'm like, how many carbohydrates do currant berries have? And it's like, a serving has 17 grams. So it's like, he means, like, the medic meant, like, go get some berries and stuff and have carbohydrates and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and as I said before that, you said it's all about the mindset, and I think the mindset kind of got to them. And I think Kayla kind of was, health-wise, she wasn't able to keep up, and she is very athletic. Her and Max won the Dome Shelter Building Challenge, but she wasn't able to, like, keep up with everyone else, and she was having low blood pressure with that, and so I can... And it's just like, and I can see how that was frustrating for her. And then, yeah, Laura was like, I'm used to the camaraderie, and it's weird, like, trying to help someone I'm supposed to be competing against. And then Trish, I think that Trish has been receiving a lot of negativity from the fans since XL8 with her versus Amber. You know, negativity has been reignited after Last One Standing Season 2, and people are like, oh, she's been carried through by everyone, or she was carried through by Fernando and Dan because they had the strength and the tree chopping challenge. Even though her axe was really good, she came up with the idea for Annette. So she does have really good ideas, but people only see the physicality and, like, how much work they see you doing. And so I'm sure, I wonder if, oh gosh, you know, the whole accusing thing. I wonder if the curtain was pulled back for them and they saw that, oh, I'm going to fail no matter what, no matter how hard I try, kind of thing.
Who knows? I mean, only they know what really happened, and I'm going to let you go over what they said later on, but I will say this about it. And I think this is going to make a lot of sense. My first partner, Kyle, and hey Kyle, we talk, I did not tell him I was going to say this, but I think somebody like Kyle would be more apt for a last one standing competition. He's all about competition. He's all about winning. He's a football coach. I think someone compared to, like, Jermaine Jackson, who's all about teaching, all about enjoying being in the wild and naked and afraid. I'm going to tell a story. The first time I had dinner with the Black Cowboy, he was trying to explain to me why all of the contestants on the show are so close. And he was trying to put it into words. He's like, I can't really make you understand until you've done it. And now that I've done it, I understand. I can't explain it to you why we have this closeness. But I think some people cherish the outdoors way more than other people like me. You know, so there's different types of people. And I think someone like Kyle is more suited for last one standing than someone like the Black Cowboy. Does that make sense, Gabe, what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, that's kind of similar to Wes leaving in season 1 of Last One Standing, because he's just like, you know, I like survival, but this whole competing thing isn't for me. And I think that's really unfortunate, because I think Naked and Afraid for Last One Standing, they want to cast people that people know. They want to cast the legends. But unfortunately, with a lot of the legends, it's more of, I just want to survive. I want to help teach. And it kind of, and even with Chini and Matt, who are on season 1, it kind of took them competing and unfortunately getting eliminated to kind of be in that mindset kind of thing. So for some people, it takes time. But unfortunately, if you have half the cast that are like, I don't know if I want to be here anymore because I don't want to compete, it's almost like you kind of need like 14 Patricks in there. Maybe not exactly like Patrick, but you need that mindset of like, I need to take every advantage I need to win.
Don't you ever say we need 14 Patricks again in your life.
Okay,
ever.
seven Patricks and 7 Jamies. We need fun accents and we need the drama. But you know what I mean? We need, you know, that charisma, and we need people, we don't
want to compete.
Exactly, because as I talked about with the last episode with the with the med taps and self taps, I don't know if Last One Standing wants to do this, but I want to see, you know, 13 people being eliminated based off of challenges rather than self-tapping, because even Patrick himself said, like, I am one step closer, but I'm not competing against anyone. They're fighting, or they lost their fight with Australia. Australia was the one who...
But that's not a competition, Gabe. I mean, that's not a competition. I mean, like, self-taps and med-taps, that's part of the competition. And I think that another thing, like fans, like regular fans and regular watchers, and even some super fans, I don't think you realize how much production goes into Naked and Afraid, and how much more production is going to have to go into Last One Standing. I'm going to give you a small backdrop of what it's like without getting in trouble with my NDA. Number one, you have to just think about it. You have your camera crew. How many cameras do you think are out there? There's more than one. And then for Last One Standing, there's probably, 6 times as many because of all the teams. So you have your crew. Now, when you have your camera crew and your sound crew and then your producers and then your assistants, I want you, and Gabe's been on many TV shows. He knows about all these people. They aren't a union. They have to have their breaks. They have to have a complete schedule. Correct, Gabe? On a union, you have to have your breaks, you have to have your lunch, you have to have, your hours correct.
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
You can't have people work more than 14 hours, sorry.
Yeah, so now you have to have your show, and you have to have it on a schedule because you have to deal with the workers. There's workers out there, and those workers are not survivalists most of the time. So there's a lot of adjusting that you have to do. And I can only imagine for Last One Standing, it's 10 times as worse. And every little group, there's more than one producer out there. I don't know exactly how many. I'm going to say there's at least 4 producers, if not. And then David was out there a lot. So maybe 5 producers out there. That's a lot of people, right, Gabe?
Exactly. And I think I mentioned this before, but I was surprised that they filmed in Australia because logistically it's very difficult to kind of go to Australia because they require half of the crew to be from Australia. So I'm sure it's a lot of people who know each other being with a lot of people who don't know each other, and it's just having to get to know everybody, getting all the hours down, having the people who aren't from Australia get acclimated to everything. And so I'm sure that played a lot into it as well with a lot of the production. And I think,
yes, and the production is huge. And we didn't even talk about the medics. So now we have all the medics, and you have to have, your backup crew, and you have to have your days off. So let's just say you have a crew of 5, and each one of them still has to have their day off. So somebody else has to come in. So just think about all of these people that are out there. It is a production. And Last One Standing, I'm sure, is way more produced than a regular Naked and Afraid. And I don't know if the survivalists are going to be, it's new to them.
Yeah, I'm sure being thrown into it, you think, I'm just going to do this competition. I don't get last. I'll continue. I'll hang out with my campmates. But then all the emotions start to come in like, oh my gosh, what I did here caused this person to go home. This person's my friend. They lost out on $100,000 because of me. And, I want to help this person. But if I help this person, that could give them an edge and they can end up beating me. And it's probably a lot of
I have the
factors.
solution. I have the solution for the problem, Gabe. Are you ready for the solution?
I'm ready. I'm set.
All right. The solution to all of these problems that you're having is increase the prize money to $1 million. $100,000 is not enough to go out there and beat yourself up the way that you normally do for a Naked and Afraid and compete and change everything and be heavily produced. Increase the kitty. Increase the kitty. We want the kitty.
I mean, RuPaul's Drag Race, it took them I want to say 14 seasons. It started out with 25,000, then 50,000, then 75,000 for the first 3 seasons. Season 4 to 14 was $100,000, and now it's $200,000. But also the contestants have the ability to win $5,000, $2,500, $10,000 with these challenges, which is why I'm make it $200,000 and then have reward challenges with monetary value. I feel like that that could help with the competitive spirit because it's just
we just solved it.
Yes.
Gabe, you're a genius. and I'm a genius, and together we solve the problem. They should have individual money challenges on each one as well. Let's go ahead, because we're talking a lot about this. Let's move on to, do you think the challenges are able to win by a woman? I'm going to talk about this last one with the bow and the rabbit. Do I think a woman could beat a man doing that? 100%. I think that challenge was equally yoked. All of them, are they equally yoked? I don't know. But I think that's something that can be finessed. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Exactly, because, looking back with the tree chopping challenge, Max, Laura, and Kayla were able to get second place against Jermaine, Sheenie, and Patrick. Oh, but then in the Arapuca bird trap challenge from season 2, the team with 2 women and a man ended up getting last place. But then in that elimination challenge, Gary was leagues ahead of Danny and Lindsay in the water boiling challenge. And then up in the 3-stick snare trap challenge, the team with 2 women and a man failed. And then Trish was able to get her water boiling first, and then Jamie soon after. And with the 3-stick snare trap, it seemed only Jermaine, Matt.
That was a hard one.
Yeah, and it seemed like Darren knew what he was doing. Jermaine kind of knew what he was doing. Jamie was like, I'm kind of iffy on it, but
that's not muscles, but that's just knowledge. That has nothing to do with muscles.
Yeah.
So rest easy, super fans. I don't think Last One Standing is going anywhere. Take a deep breath. Get over this drama. Let's move on. And it is what it is. Do not let this Reddit poster and this superfan M mess everything up. I think that they're messing it up just for the superfans. I don't think there's a lot of regular watchers who even have a clue about what's going on, just to be honest. They don't care. I mean, I know a lot of regular watchers, and that's why I became a superfan, because nobody wanted to talk to me about this. And they just watch and they're like, oh, the girl's tapped. Good for them. Some of them, oh, how horrible. It is what it is. It's not ruining the show. I have a really good post, Gabe. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This comes from Heather McKenzie Mahan, and she said that she's a super fan of the show, but she doesn't really make a lot of comments or posts or anything like that. But she does watch the show. And I'm going to read to you what she wrote. She wrote a very long post. She wrote, question for participants. Are there any challenges you think would be interesting to see in any future LOS seasons? If there are any, LOS. I mean, see how you got people worried? I mean, people are already saying there's not going to be any more Last One Standings. I don't think that's true. And then she lists a whole bunch of different survivalists. What kind of challenge do you think would be interesting, Gabe? Even though she didn't ask us, we're going to answer.
Oh gosh. Well, being a not survivalist myself, maybe they can do bushcrafting. I'm trying to specifically think maybe more trap challenges. That seems to be kind of a go-to for the different challenges. Maybe some more primitive fire making. I just want to see people compete against each other. Maybe if it's not strength-based, but, I just more trap stuff and something to do with knots and different shelter making.
Knots. I think knots would be a good one. Maybe making cordage. Making 15 feet of cordage. And then the 15 feet of cordage has to be able to hold 10 pounds. Things like that. So yes, that's my answer. And then she has a question for the producers. Are the challenges planned out before the competition starts? Or does the surrounding environment and participant status make it so that the planned challenges need to be fluid? I'm going to answer this one, and I'm going to say that they plan out a whole bunch of stuff. Storyboards, they have a whole bunch of plans. And then they have a backup plan. And then they also have to be fluid because it can rain. There's so many different things that can happen on the elements. They have to be ready for a backup. What do you think, Gabe?
I would agree with that. I think that they probably see the area and talk to an expert. Maybe they talk to locals like, hey, what kind of traps do you do? What sort of maybe
100%.
Yeah, and maybe talk to indigenous individuals and say, hey, you have lived in this environment, or look to archaeologists and be like, hey, what kind of stuff have they done here? But I'm sure they probably have a list of the different challenges they can do, and probably are like, okay, we have groups. What would be a good group challenge where you can have a bunch of people working on it? What could be a good individual where it's not going to take them 10 hours in the hot sun?
I'm surprised, Gabe. I'm surprised that you're saying this because I think that I left something out, and I'm really surprised you didn't bring it up in your conversation. They go out and scout this area months beforehand, and they talk. Not only do they find the location, the different areas, like you said, they find experts. I mean, they also have to find hotel rooms. They have to find places for the production to stay. They do a big scout. So, and her last thing is this. And I don't know if you've seen this, Gabe. She says, and a question for fans. What if we got together a GoFundMe or some such to bankroll another season, but only if we were allowed some input? No. Just no, no, no. Fans cannot do this. And fans donating money to Discovery or anything is outrageous because they have so much money.
Millions upon millions of dollars. I mean, I would like a fan input. Maybe if we could vote someone in, vote for like one challenge that they could do, vote for someone to win the fan favorite award,
or vote for a save.
Vote for oh gosh, that'd be interesting. Where and the contestants have no idea who it is, but if the person we all voted for gets that save, then if they're eliminated, it's like, hey, the fans love you. You get one more chance.
I think that's a good idea. So we're taking Heather's comment. I really appreciate her comment. There's so many different people out there that in our fan groups that are just so negative. This has created so much negativity. And that's why I have a problem. Reddit poster, you super fan, you have created negativity. And I almost feel like that was your purpose. Your purpose was to create negativity.
I agree. I remember that night I got a text from one of the other admins who's like, hey, me and the other admin have been talking. Let's not... There were like 63 posts in the queue, and all of it, or most of them, were so negative. And I think there was one where it was kind of Laura's statement after the episode, and I'm like, hey, can I share this? Sure, and then left everything for the next day. But people were not happy, and they were not happy at Laura, Kayla, and Trish and then people were like, no, it's Laura's fault because she was the one who brought it up. No, it's Trish's fault because, she hears what she knows what the fans are saying, so she wanted to take the other two with her. No, it's Kayla's fault because she was not feeling great anyway, and she just wanted to take them with them. And what's interesting is that before this, a lot of fans were thinking very negatively towards Chini, and they're like, oh, I don't like her, she's annoying. They were just posting negative stuff about her, but now it's like, oh, so much respect for Chini. I'm glad she stayed despite everything that's been happening, despite everything that's going on behind the scenes, and she's a very strong individual. And I'm like, cool. So at least Chini is getting some positivity. He left.
And this went by really fast, and we haven't gone over anything in the show. So there's some posts that I think we need to address, and I'm going to sum it up. The sum of it is 3 girls tapped. Whatever reasons they tapped, it's their reasons. Don't try to hurt the show. And all we can know for 100% sure is what they put out there. They put out there their so-called reasons, and that's what they wanted to portray. So, or they had to portray that. And that's what you do when you agree to go on a TV show. There's certain things that you don't have control over. Even if they sat there and said whatever they wanted to say, that doesn't mean the show has to show it. So they came up with their reasons, and now we have the after the show reasons, and they're still under an NDA. I think Gabe said something about when the NDA expires. There is no NDA expiration date. It does not expire, Gabe. Like, I have my NDA. It does not expire. I think there's a certain thing where you can go on a podcast or you can talk about the show, which Trish has already been on someone else's show. But the NDA says that after a certain amount of time is when you're allowed to go do other things. But the secrets of the show are never to be released.
I love America's Next Top Model, but it is extremely problematic. But I still love it so much, but it is extremely problematic. And
I agree.
And I wanted to bring this up a little bit because there were 2 instances on America's, because it might relate, but basically 2 different contestants on 2 different seasons kind of found some behind-the-scenes information where it was basically all the contestants' archetypes and all that. And I think that one of them, it was supposed to be like the snobby Ivy League school contestant. The other one was the individual who found it is Indian. And so they were like, I guess I can't remember exactly what her archetype was, but she looked at that and was like, it's boiling down to that now, is it? And so I wonder if maybe the survivalists kind of got a whiff that, like, oh, and then others talk about how they knew that they weren't going to win. They saw kind of how production was, and maybe some of the survivalists were like, oh, no matter how hard I try, I will never win this kind of thing.
Well, you bring up a very good point. And I'm going to say this. Of course, they have a little bit of an arc for all of us. Of course. And we should realize that. Yeah, you have a type. They're going to highlight that type, and you should know that. Now, with that being said, we got to get to this. We got to get to your stuff, Gabe. But I will say this, and I've been meaning to say this, and this is proof, in my opinion. Proof that Patrick is playing a part is because sometimes he has it on where he's like, blah, 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 blah. You know, he's doing his, Legend Slayer stuff. But then at other times, they're all sitting there as a group, friends and fun. So it's not all the time he has it on. And I believe I saw Andrew Shade stick up for Patrick. I'm sticking up for all of them. I'm sticking up for every single person who's ever been on this show so far. We know that you're not like that all the time, right, Gabe? Like, we need to stick up for these people. Stand behind all of them, even when Patrick's being annoying, because he can be annoying, and he knows it.
Yeah, but I learned that Patrick really likes anime, so he's a little bit higher in my books now. But yeah, and a lot of the times people are like, oh my gosh, why are the survivalists bringing up this over and over and over again? But just remember, when they're doing their talking heads, producers are asking them questions. And so if they find a topic they could potentially have in a storyline, they're going to keep asking about it. For example, Miranda from the Poison Control episode, people are like, oh my gosh, she's talking so much about being a mentee to Stephen Lee Hall Jr., blah, blah, blah. But the producers are like, oh, Stephen Lee Hall Jr., a legend of Naked and Afraid. Let's ask her about it multiple times. I'm sure she wasn't like, hey, I know I just got here, but let me talk about Stephen Lee Hall Jr. The producers are like, tell us about Stephen Lee Hall Jr. So, again, this is what we're seeing, the edit, and then
TV
in reality.
magic. Editing
exactly.
magic. And then, but something else is obviously going on. I just think that they're not having as much fun as they want to, and they're not showing it. That's basically what I think. They're not having as much fun as they thought they were. It's not what they expected, and they're editing it up to try to not show so much of that. And I think that's why people are, when you're not happy, what happens? You're ready to leave faster. So I think people are leaving a lot faster because they're not happy. Let's go to your explanations, Gabe. I'm going to put a screenshot up of what you're talking about. So let's get to it.
Okay, who should I start with first?
Whoever you want.
Oh gosh, Laura, because the legendary Laura. Okay, so this is the post that Laura made on her personal page about the whole situation. She posted this after the episode. I'm sure she probably had time to write it and just wasn't able to post it until now. But she said, for the record,
I'm sure she had it ready to go.
Exactly. I feel like a lot of reality stars have things ready, so once the episode airs, they're like, boom, here's my statement. And so Laura said, living survival day in and day out in nearly every environment in the world. Being female and being a survivalist has had no effect whatsoever on my ability to thrive in any of my vast real-world survival experiences. If anything, my small size and therefore smaller caloric need is something I view as a superpower. I had many reservations about participating in LOS, and as it turned out, my gut feeling was right. After my return to Naked and Afraid after 5 years, I had such an amazing experience in Mexico that when the opportunity came up suddenly to head to Australia, a place I called home for 2 years, I decided to go against my gut and hopped on a plane the next day. I don't expect many to understand, but let me just say, sometimes it's the things you choose not to participate in that define you more than those things that you do. Staying would have been easier in so many ways, but I had to stay true to myself and my own beliefs, and I'm more proud of myself of doing the hard thing and leaving this challenge than I ever have been finishing one. Trish and Kayla, your strength of character is impeccable, and you both have my utmost respect now and always. You'll never see me come back on LOS, and I'm more committed than ever to fill my days with those experiences that are drenched in raw, real wilderness and my own personal truth, and that viscerally and authentically feed every part of my soul. Nothing but love for my fellow castmates.
So I think right there, she says nothing but love for her fellow castmates. And this is out of the horse's mouth. She's never doing LOS again. And I just don't think she enjoyed it. I think it was more of a production. That's what I got out of that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I saw this comment that said, or someone was saying, please come back to Naked and Afraid XL. We miss you and your talents. And Laura said, I wish I could say I would. Unfortunately, I believe I am done with this franchise.
And I love the word, I saw that post too, when she said franchise. That speaks volumes. She's done with the franchise. This is a business, people. So let's remember, this is a business. The producers have a job to do. They have a job to make it controversial, and this has really been controversial. So the next statement that you want to read.
The next statement from Kayla Hobart, I believe is how you pronounce her last name. I do not know. If she wants to correct me, that's fine. Oh, also, Mauser. Sam Mauser. That's how you pronounce his last name. Yep. Yeah, to make, because staying would have been easier in a lot of ways. I've learned that sometimes the right decision for yourself will be the hardest pill for others to swallow, and the judgment of those people not understanding will hurt. But you have to stay true to yourself, and if I'm faced with this choice again, I wouldn't change a thing. Laura and Trish are two of the realest, most BA incredible humans I've ever met, and I would take a bullet for either one of them. We are trauma bonded for life, and I have never been so proud to be a part of something as I am for the choices we made to leave. I respect the heck out of every single person that took on this challenge with me, and for how, despite it being a competition, we all took care of each other emotionally and physically. There wasn't a single person out there who couldn't have won the whole thing. I love you all. This was my last ever Naked and Afraid. I'm sorry it had to end on that note that it did, but I am going to focus on my career, my health, and my friends and family, and all the crazy life adventures yet to come. I love you all, and I'm grateful for the opportunity and experiences Naked and Afraid has brought into my life.
Well said, Kayla. We hate to see you go, but if you're not enjoying it, you're not enjoying it. If it's not for you, it's not for you. And c'est la vie. That's the way it goes sometimes. And again, I think it would be a lot different if it was for $1 million. But anyway, next. Who do we have next? Do we have a statement from Trish?
I did not find a statement from Trish, unfortunately. I know she had an interview with Johnny Fairplay from Survivor, but I unfortunately never saw any official post made by her.
Well, I did not watch the Johnny Fairplay. I was really surprised that she did that interview. So we have no post from Trish. Anything else? Is there any other post that you want to talk about?
There is one from Patrick that I wanted to share, if that's all right. So Patrick, and he also added the meme of Forrest Gump kind of when he was sitting on the park bench and looking like that in a meme form later. But there's only two things I have to say about last night's episode right now. Looks like practicing with the bow really paid off. Sunglasses emoji. Number 2, Australia and competitions take their toll on people. Survival is 90% mental, but competition isn't survival. Having a blend of both together is an entirely different environment and mental and physical challenge. A lot of my haters get upset about the fact that I use all the rules to my advantage because they say it's not part of normal Naked and Afraid survival. They forget that this is also a competitive game. There are challenges, people lose, they struggle, they get hurt. It's everyone for themselves out there, with some alliances like with Chini and I. But the fact is there can only be one last one standing.
Well, I love how he made it all about him. So,
I mean,
yeah,
are we
Patrick,
surprised?
We know how you feel already. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Yeah. Well, it was a whirlwind. I love it. David's story. I talk about David's story almost every single podcast. I want to say that I am grateful for the opportunities that you have given me on being on Naked and Afraid, and I just want to say thank you, and I'm sorry that people are trying to hurt Last One Standing, and there's no need to do that, especially if you're a super fan.
Yeah. Oh, and interestingly enough, David's story, I put up the video of us talking about Sam, and he liked the video, so I'm like, I know you said he's watching, but more confirmation he's watching us. He's seen my face. I will, yeah, I'm never doing a challenge, sorry. But, yeah.
But, I just want to tell you that David's story is one of those kind of people. I don't know if his reputation precedes him, but he's a big man. And I don't mean big as in girth. I mean His aura is just huge, and it's just lovely. I cannot explain it. So, any final thoughts about 3 people tapping, Max most likely tapping, and Jermaine tapping? I think they're all related. I don't think they were happy.
I think the reason why Max is having some thoughts about like, oh, how could this happen? It was probably from the 3 women tapping, and I don't want to say traumatized, but I think it really affected him in that moment, and I think that really threw him off his game. So I think maybe like that part, it's kind of like, oh, we kind of see what's going on here. There's no behind the scenes shenanigans with it all. I may be completely wrong, but I think that a lot of, I don't know, I feel like maybe they saw the writing on the wall. They're like, I'm not going to win. They're just going to, they want me to dance for them, but I just can't do it anymore. The survivalists who self-tapped.
Okay, so you think that they were like, I'm not going to dance for them anymore. I think that's a good way to think about it. I just don't think this competition and this production was for them. So I think that was a really good, you hit it on the head again. Yeah. That was a really good statement.
Thank you.
But and Max leaving, I find really amazing. What I found really amazing about Max is he hasn't had a lot of screen time. I think he's great, but he just wasn't a central player the way that I thought he was going to be a central player. I think that if he leaves, he's leaving because he's not happy. Whatever he's not happy with, it is what it is.
Exactly. And that's really unfortunate because he's one of the top players of the game. He's done so many challenges. He completed a 60-day challenge. He's done a mentor challenge, which not a lot of survivalists can say they've done. He's done a solo challenge. He's a very talented survivalist. I don't know, production wasn't looking at him as like a top competitor, and maybe Max was like, but why though? I'm really good. I don't know. That's probably not what happened, but it's just so frustrating to watch these really talented individuals who can do these challenges and be really good. It's just kind of like, oh, they're edit, and then people may see that and they're like, oh, they're not as good as we think they are, but it's like, no, it's the edit. I don't know.
I know. I've heard so much about the edits and different things like that, but regardless or not, I don't think Last One Standing is going anywhere. Y'all's pretty, heads. This is here to stay. They won awards last season. They're going to win awards this season. And all of this controversy has just made everything better for the watchers. Maybe not for the super fans, but for the watchers, this has made it better. And with that being said, what's going to happen next week, Gabe?
Next week, we have Bringing the Heat and the Meat. In a grueling rocket stove challenge, a worst to first comeback by a dark horse secures a critical asset. A survivalist gets a big game kill and plots to shift the balance of power. A top contender's shocking exit rocks the competition.
Ooh, okay, so who is the person that's coming back? Patrick?
I'm thinking maybe Chini, just because in the trailer, there's a point where she's running and she's like, I'm the queen of the jungle, and she's like cheering next to what looks to be like a shovel or something. So I think maybe Chini could make a comeback to the challenge, or Patrick, but definitely not Darren or Matt, just because everyone's saying that they're really good and they have adaptability and all that good stuff. But yeah, I think maybe Chini will be the dark horse.
I want to put this out there. On my first challenge, I tried really, really hard to make a rocket stove, and I really wasn't successful because of the way that the sand was, and because I wasn't really trying as hard as I needed to in the water table, but I could do a rocket stove. If I was on Last One Standing right now, and they say, okay, you have to build a rocket stove, I would know what to do, and I would try to win. So I think that this is an equally yoked challenge. And now we're going to have to look at all of these challenges and say, are they equally yoked?
Yeah, I think a lot of people were saying how the bow and arrow and the processing the rabbit challenge, everyone was on the same wavelength, saying that it wasn't kind of skewed towards men or women. The order, just so everyone knows, it was Matt first, Patrick second, Chini third, Darren fourth, and unfortunately Max got fifth.
Yes. Okay, it says the worst to the first. Who is the worst to the first comeback? Who could that be? The worst to the first.
I mean, that could be Patrick, because during the boiling water challenge, he was nearly last place, but Gary got last place. But maybe this time, I'm thinking Cheney or Patrick could be the worst to first come back and secure an asset.
I mean, who's been the worst? The only person I can think of was Max, but Max is going to tap, right?
Right. Oh, I was thinking just like maybe there were different phases to this, and the person who goes from worst to first didn't do super hotsy-totsy at the beginning, but then, makes a comeback towards the end. That's kind of where my mind was at, and not kind of overall.
Okay. And then a survivalist gets a big game kill and plots to shift the balance of power. Which reminds me, what I think, and this is just my personal opinion, and this is me being a super fan, and of course, we don't know what's going out there. I just gave all this preaching about not knowing what's going on there. But I think that Matt probably shared that salt. I know they say you're not allowed to, but I think there was a way for him to share that salt. What do you think? I think he shared it.
I think maybe he could be or he probably boiled the rabbit and was like, "Oh, do you need some water? You don't have any water. Here, have some water, Darren." And Darren's like, "Yes, this water tastes good." Cut to Matt being like, "By the way, there was still some broth in that pot." I could totally see him doing that.
With that being said, I think Matt is probably one of the best players out there as in balancing competition with Boma Love. I think that he is the best at balancing that. And I think that a lot of people don't know how to balance it. And he's really good at it.
Yeah, he's going back to RuPaul's Drag Race. He's like the winner of season 6 of RuPaul's Drag Race, Bianca Del Rio, who was so good at the competition and was very confident in themselves. They were helping out other queens with their makeup and giving advice, or "Hey, do you need this extra waist cincher? I'll give you that." And Matt talks about how he wants everyone to be at their best. So he's so confident. He's like, "I want everyone to be at their best because I want to know I beat everyone while they were at their best."
And as a last note, I'm going to say this before we get off. And we've talked forever. This was the best time we've ever talked about anything. But I do want to say this to the producers, to the law team of Discovery and Naked and Afraid. We had nothing to do with any of these spoilers and things. And any spoilers that we give, it's 100% a guess. Right, Gabe? Is anybody talking to you, giving you spoilers?
No one's talking to me or giving me spoilers. That was just really, I just happened to do my research correctly and to be like, "Oh, Laura, Trish, and Kayla, I think they're going to go." That was purely speculation. I had no idea. And if I did know, I wouldn't be like, "By the way, these 3 are going to tap. Can you believe it?" I wouldn't do that, because then the person, or no one's told me, but hypothetically, if the person told me, they'd be like.
Exactly. And then I've talked to the legal department before, and I also want everybody to know that I try very hard to respect my fellow castmates. So I don't go to them and ask them any questions. I don't put them in that position. So I'm not getting any inside information. I don't go to them. And number 2, I'm the kind of person that everything that we get on this podcast is from research and really strong guessing. Nobody's telling us anything. And we had 100% nothing to do with that horrible post.
That is correct. I would never.
Go ahead.
I could show proof. I could go back into the activity log and say I declined that specific post. I had nothing to do with it. I didn't want to share it. It was all so crazy.
Yes. We love you, Naked and Afraid. To everybody that was on Last One Standing, whether you tapped, we respect you. We love you. And we, again, do not do anything to harm the castmates. They're there to give us entertainment. Respect them and love them.
Yes.
And we're out.
Bye. Thank you for being here.
So I wasn't too mean to that superfan M, was I?
I don't think so.